Well, good evening, everyone. I will call to order this regular American Canyon Fire Protection District Board meeting for November 19, 2025. And I invite everyone to stand as we say our Pledge of Allegiance. Madam Clerk, can you do roll call, please?
Yes. Board Member Cruz?
Here.
Board Member Lamatima?
Here.
Board Member Oro?
Here.
Vice Chair Joseph?
Here.
And Chair Washington.
Here, and thank you, Martha. Report on closed session, confirmation or reportable action, Mr. Ross?
Chair, board members, members of the public, the board convened and opened at 5:30 p.m. to address the matters agendized for closed session. After indicating that there were public comments on the matters agendized for closed session, we went into closed session at 5:31. You concluded at 6:21. I'll do a written report upon return from closed session reflecting reportable board action. That would be the report upon return from closed session unless there are questions.
Any questions from the board? Seeing none, thank you, Mr. Ross. For proclamations and presentations, we actually have a special presentation tonight from Mr. Joe Nordlinger on Community Wildlife Protection Plan. I don't see him here, so is he going to be on virtual?
No, Chair. He had a schedule conflict, so we have Stephanie Smithers from Napa Firewise here to give the presentation. So,
Okay. Well, welcome, Stephanie.
yeah, I'll just kick it off. So, I think it's readily apparent to everyone that lives in California that our wildfires are increasing in frequency and at times becoming more destructive. Now, I also want to frame that. I don't want to paint a doom and gloom picture because here in American Canyon, we do have a relatively lower wildland threat than some of our counterparts up valley. However, with many things, it's you can make two choices. You can identify what you believe are potential wildfire threat areas and come up with potential mitigation projects, or you can partner with Napa Firewise and develop a community wildfire protection plan that is specific for the community in which you serve, i.e. here in American Canyon. So several years ago, Firewise embarked on a project and they did a county-wide CWPP, which is included in your agenda packet. Really looks at a lot of high-level fuel mitigation projects to help reduce the wildfire threat in the county. However, there's a lot of value, I think we would all agree, in taking the global view of the county, shrinking it down to a more specific and more tailored assessment of American Canyon and its potential wildfire threats. I think it's also important to set the stage that the Community Wildfire Protection Plan has now become one of the minimum requirements for a lot of grant funding to help put these identified projects into basically work or shovel ready, right? So right now, even if we said we have identified a area that we believe is a high wildfire threat in American Canyon, we would be precluded from a lot of state grant monies because we don't have a CWPP. So this is an important document that helps potentially open the door for grants to carry out and actually do these mitigation projects. The other part of it is, as Stephanie will talk about, it involves a lot of community. There's a lot of community and stakeholder involvement as we go through this process. The hope and the intent is through this process, and Firewise has been down here for several years at a lot of our events and have met a lot of people that are casually interested in a Firewise Fire Safe Council. However, this, we believe, will be the nexus to help get a fire safe council started here. And where the value to the community is in that, and fire safe councils are always a grassroots, community-based effort, is as they go through the process, they become certified as a FireWise community. There are numerous insurance agencies that will provide a discount to the homeowners for their fire insurance if they reside within the boundaries of a community FireWise district, community FireWise council. So that is a little bit of kind of helping to set the stage, and now I'll turn it over to Stephanie to really kind of talk a little bit more about the nuts and bolts of this. Before I do give it to you, though, I want to really acknowledge Napa FireWise. Napa FireWise has secured the funding to do the CWPP process, so this process will be funded through Napa FireWise, not coming out of the district's operating funds or general revenue to facilitate this process. So a lot of kudos to Napa FireWise for that forethought in securing those funds. So Stephanie.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Chief.
Chief.
Well, I think Chief said a lot of the high-level points, which are really important. So I'll kind of go through some other points of what a CWPP is, why it's important, and what the process really looks like for a community to go through. We have been going through these CWP processes with fire safe councils across the county. We have 22, almost 23 fire safe councils formed out of the, I think it's 33 that were mapped when we developed the fire safe council boundary map within the county. The FireWise recognition, as Chief alluded to through the CWPP, that has become so important for residents as we've found out. I answer multiple emails daily of homeowners across various regions that are looking for that certificate to hopefully pursue some sort of insurance discount to save them money. And it's just been really beneficial for a lot of people. It's something a lot of people are asking for. And something tangible. So we'll kind of go through what does that mean for them. And we fully recognize American Canyon you're not the Howell Mountain Corridor, right? This isn't a forest. But you guys have some grasslands. You have communities that butt up to some grasslands. And so we'll kind of talk through what does the project prioritization look like and what does a CWPP encompass. As Chief said, it's a prescribed plan unique to your community. So some people will refer to it, if you do a master plan for any sort of department, this is sort of the guide to fire mitigation and your planning. And it is really unique. It doesn't have to be black and white. It doesn't have to just include mitigation projects. It can include other things that support your fire authority. If it's a long-term apparatus planning, evacuation planning, Highway 29, that's a major evacuation corridor for many people. So it can encompass a lot more than just fuel reduction projects, and the engagement is a huge part of the CWPP. So it kicks off with really assessing, identifying what are those risks. We use an outside party, a professional who comes in and does that, the GIS expert, to look at your region. There's a huge engagement component that we engage stakeholders. So if you want that to be like HOAs and chambers and business owners, as well as the residents, looking at each individual neighborhood. So it can get really granular to make sure that each neighborhood is addressed. And part of that, as we'll get into, is you'll start to maybe hear from people who express what are their concerns with wildfire. And it might not be that they think a wildfire is going to start in their backyard, but they are afraid of the smoke impacts from other neighborhoods and looking at various elements of what the neighborhoods are concerned about, not just the direct threat of flames. And then what is the action? So the implementation, and then how does it get into like our project pipeline, which is super critical for funding, as Chief alluded to. The steps are pretty seamless for most communities. This is a 3 to 6 month process, and that's a bit of a wide range, but the reason being is just how difficult is it to engage a community, how big is the area. We go through iterations. It's not something that we want to rush or that we're ever really rushed to do. We want to do it right the first time. And so if we have to do multiple community meetings to engage enough people and really make sure that the constituents feel heard and are included in the plan, then that's what we want to do. The consultant does a risk assessment, they develop a suite of projects, they're gonna draft a plan that gets reviewed with the stakeholders, your local fire authority. They'll kind of go through what are those priority projects, because it is important. If you're gonna make a plan, you wanna know what are we gonna do first. Because you might develop, 20 projects in there, and how are you gonna know which ones are the most critical? And some of them might be maintenance projects included. And again, that's where you're running those projects past your community. So the stakeholder meetings and the resident community meetings. And I'll kind of go through that because it would be, it's a little bit different for a community that doesn't have an existing fire safe council. For example, Carneros is going through this. They did not stand up a fire safe council prior to starting their CWPP because a lot of people are busy and they're not like the first people to throw in their hat and to say like, I'll volunteer a lot of my time and take the lead. You all are council members, so it's different. But a lot of people aren't willing to put in that extra time or have the weight of being a lead of a fire safe council be on them. We start this process and then they get engaged and realize it's not a big lift because we have consultants, we walk them through this process. Once we go through the development of the CWPP, identifying those priority projects, when it's near the finish line, we go in and get the signatures. So those are the signatures from the fire authority, looking at the local unit, talk about the implementation, and then finally we pursue the NFPA Firewise recognition. The reason we do it in this order is a lot of the things needed on the checklist for the Firewise recognition are things that we address in the CWPP. So it comes sort of hand in hand for us to do that together. And then Napa Firewise really supports our fire safe councils by building that application for and with them, just trying to make that as easy as possible so that they are getting the benefits of being a more Firewise community. We have a beautiful little graphic that we share with people to help understand what that process is, like I said. So you guys are really falling into this green, that CWPP readiness. Other communities that might come at a fire safe council, grassroots, they're coming forward and say, we want to develop our CWPP, we have seed money, kind of support us, or it's coming through at this level where you have a fire authority that says, hey, I think it's time to do this. Most importantly, we want to make sure that you're eligible for grant funding, or if the city wants to apply for FEMA, we want to make sure that you're eligible to do so. And then we go ahead and use our consultant, engage them to start that process in developing it. We work on developing, and this is Napa Firewise. Napa Firewise develops the mailers, starts the engagement to the community briefings. So I want you to know we're not adding work to any staff. I'm probably going to call, Laura and team and get some input to make sure that it is the right brand for the city. But we really take a lead on calling your community out and getting them engaged. At the community kickoff meeting, we kind of show them, here are your existing conditions. So we present the landscape to the community and the stakeholders and get their feedback. Again, this could be multiple community meetings. It's not just one. We want to take time and make sure that it's done correct. Getting their initial feedback, really asking those questions of what are your concerns, and taking that feedback into consideration as we build out the CWPP. And we're talking with different folks across the county. We're talking with your local fire authority to further define those projects and get them mapped, and then bringing that back to the community again for some stakeholder engagement on prioritizing the projects. Community engagement can look really different, so also keep that in mind that it is customized to your community. We don't think that it's a one-size model fits all. However we engage people in the city of Napa or the city of Calistoga isn't necessarily the way we would engage them now, and so that's where we'll really work with you, work with your team on what has worked, and then find different outlets to make sure that people are feeling comfortable and heard in a space that they're used to, and not having it be, a forced setting. And then obviously the final, like I had said in the previous slide, there's the signatures to making sure that that's all vetted and then, implemented. So, priorities and types of CWPP projects that I had kicked off with is we look at obviously life safety. We wanted to think about reducing damage to properties and then natural resources. You guys, have some really amazing protected open space in American Canyon. So also looking at how do we protect and preserve those resources as well. Looking at the evacuation and access. That's a part of your CWPP. If there's a certain neighborhood that has really limited ingress, egress, we want to address that in the CWPP. Reducing ignitions, defensible space. It can, CWPPs could say, hey, we have a lot of neighborhoods that neighbor grasslands, right? The grass is fuels. Fires can be weather driven. So we want to talk about defensible space being really critical for our community. And so you can write that into your CWPP, which helps apply for, for grants with CAL FIRE, specifically for defensible space cost share funds for your community. Napa FireWise in 24 and 26, we distributed grants to like 205 residents, homeowners in Napa County to complete defensible space work. I think the average grant that was given out was $2,600. So it's really giving folks money to do the work, to keep them safe and understand, what's ember ignition, how does that work, how do you reduce your risk? And so we can write defensible space into your CWPP if that's something that makes sense for this community, which will help apply for future grants. And then also assist with containment. So like I was saying, if there's a need for fire response, that can also be included in your emergency response. If that's a future need for apparatus or whatever it may be, it goes beyond the fuel reduction, projects. And again, really, addressing multiple goals and, multi-benefit, right? We want ecological health, we want fuel reduction, preservation of, structures and life. So here's kind of this example timeline that our wildfire preparedness team put together. And just to be very clear, I am all in the communications and the outreach side, so I don't do this. We have a wildfire preparedness team who supports our communities in going through this. And we've done it with a lot, so this is not our first rodeo. So kind of looking at where are we at today, right? We're determining if you want to move ahead, talk about CWPP and the need. We engage our consultant to sort of develop the risk assessment, looking at December and February. And again, the timing, it might be just slightly slower in the beginning. We're heading into the holidays. It's just sort of a tough time to engage anyone. But we sort of create that plan to kind of alert the community about the project and the CWPP, work with your staff to make sure that there's enough leadway in those communications for the community to understand what's going on. Schedule a meeting for tentatively February could be a great time to do that. Looking at in the spring, gathering folks and looking at those projects, seeking additional input. And then at that time, it'd be really great for us to really try to stand up a Fire Safe Council. They go, oh my gosh, there's a lot of movement happening. I want to get behind this movement. And there have been multiple community members have come forward and expressed interest from American Canyon, but they're like, I don't want to do it alone, right? They don't want to be the sole leader in it, which we absolutely get. And then around that time, wanting to circulate a first draft, looking at early summer, potentially finalizing one, getting it signed off, getting that FireWise USA recognition for your community. So I want to open it up if there's any questions. And first, I want to talk about the grants a little bit. So Napa FireWise has a suite of projects which you can view on our website, napafirewise.org. It's called the Project Dashboard. And so we have 303 projects funded. We've completed 251 projects. As a nonprofit, we really gained momentum following 2017 fires and have just really blown up in our grant funding and what we're able to do and scale. Our CEO always has this phrase that he says we're 100% successful somewhere when it comes to grants. We've got these projects that all the projects in our pipeline are built off of our CWPPs. And so there have been projects in American Canyon, I think most of you would be very familiar with the grazing. It's actually some of the most successful grazing we've had across the county. It's been impressive, and American Canyon has helped us exceed 1,000 acres grazed, because a lot of them have been here. But it's just the right treatment prescription, and that happened through a county-funded contract. But I would say your fire authority, in their mind, already knows a list of projects that they would like to do or just have planned in the future. So we would want to include those into our pipeline, because when we're writing grants, we're pulling from these projects on what's going to get us to secure the grant. And so it might be a few different projects from different communities and helps us. And they require the credibility of a CWPP now. That's just how it is. We're seeing this across the nation that these folks are developing these CWPPs. Also, if Napa Firewise couldn't pursue a FEMA grant, we won't get into any history with FEMA grants, but we couldn't pursue a FEMA grant, but the city of American Canyon, could, and Napa Firewise would be able to support you guys in writing that grant and assisting, and we would only be able to do that if we had a CWPP. So keep that in mind. It's given us great success, and we, like I said, through the CWPP projects, we're doing things like securing defensible space, cost share programs for folks in the high and very high severity fire severity zones. We're doing, fuel breaks. We're doing community grazing. We're doing, it could be signs, right? We've done reflect to protect signs. If you feel like neighborhoods need to have better signage for fire response, like that could be a part of it as well. So I don't want to say endless, but it feels pretty endless. And you have an amazing fire protection district who's done an incredible job. And I know through conversations, they already know what they want to do. And so we'd be excited to help make this happen for American Canyon, and I'd like to open it up if you guys have any questions.
Yeah, thank you, Stephanie, for such an insightful presentation and also giving Chief Bellier all kind of props and stuff like that. So I'm sure he appreciates that as well. But I'll open it up for the board for any questions we have for Stephanie. Board Member Cruz.
Stephanie, thank you for that presentation. A couple of questions. So if American Canyon adopted the CWPP, and, I know part of it, one of them is fuel reduction mitigation. So if there was, say, a neighborhood and it's in the CW, are they all subjected to the CWPP? Is it one thing that all the neighbors in that particular area are subject? I guess my question is this. So if there's a home that you identify, well, it has fir trees all around that grandpa's planted like 100 years ago, and they don't want to take it down, how would you go about enforcing that? Is it enforced?
I'll step in on that one. So the first part of that question is the CWPP would be broad-based and identify potential projects to mitigate fuel or wildfire threat, right? Through fuel mitigation is one of those steps. Just because that project is potentially identified as a potential project, we cannot enter private land without consent to be able to do work. So we wouldn't be able to just arbitrarily go into someone's yard and cut down the fir trees using your example because of CWPP. Where we would potentially have to, and there's a series of steps that would occur, is through our fire hazard abatement ordinance where we require people to have their lots clear of flammable vegetation and so forth. Been very few instances here, but we just recently had a parcel that was not in compliance with our ordinance. We worked with Mr. Ross's legal team. We had to secure an administrative warrant so that we could then use a subcontractor to enter the property, abate the hazard, and then the responsible would either be billed for the work or would have a lien placed on their property for the cost of that. So just to circle back, just because a project is identified in the CWPP, that does not give us carte blanche to enter private property and conduct those projects. We have to get the landowner's consent and hopefully buy-in on the project and the benefit of the projects before we could actually do a project.
Thank you, Chief. And then to ask that again, also another way. So let's say consent was given for them to come in to remove the vegetation, the trees, or whatever the case may be. Does that homeowner, are they totally responsible for removal? Say they're 80 plus and they can't do anything. Are they required to do it themselves, or will the grants help out in that matter?
There's a lot of nuances to that, but if we were able to secure a grant, then the grant would pay for that. And I think when Stephanie talked earlier about Firewise securing grant funding and providing funding to homeowners for defensible space, I think it was about $2,600 per landowner. the intent of that project is for the landowners that don't have the financial means or the physical wherewithal to do that work themselves. The grant money then comes into play to help them facilitate that work.
Thank you, Chief. Thank you, Stephanie.
Board Member Lamatina.
Thank you for that presentation. My question really is for the chief. So say we get certified and we're moving right along. Is there a way to incorporate CERT to help with this since we're not really using them? I don't know if it's,
Well, we have to look at what the actual projects are. So I don't think that it would be the most appropriate to use CERT to use saws and so forth to clear property and so forth. There may be opportunities to use them with public outreach and things like that, but a lot of it is going to be dictated by what the projects are and then how the projects would be carried out to mitigate the potential threat.
thank you.
Vice Chair Joseph.
Yes, thank you for the report. Just piggybacking off of CERT, I could also see them playing a key role in developing the CWPP as one of the potential stakeholders. So I think they certainly would play a key role in one form or another. My question is more technical process. So tonight is just a discussion, so we can't make formal recommendations or actions. But if we wanted to move the process along, could we end up saying, Chief, please put this on our December board meeting, even though that was supposed to be a short quickie? We could still put this on because we've kind of done most of the talking tonight and all that.
Yeah, it's definitely at the board's pleasure if the board wants to take formal action to initiate the process. I don't believe the board needs to take formal action to initiate the process.
Oh.
This is more of an informational item to help the board understand what the process is. But we certainly could bring it back if the board desired to take a more formal action and say, yes, go do this.
Well, okay. Yeah, I mean, call me an old bureaucrat, but it was my mindset was the board would give you direction, you would do it, we'd come back and approve it. If that isn't necessary, then great, because I don't know if anyone else on the board objects, so, I mean, process-wise, you guys can get the ball rolling and go from there, so.
Yeah, and really, thank you for that. And this really does tie back to our 2022 master plan where it talks about enhancing community risk reduction and so forth within the district. This is just another layer. We're also working with the consultants the county has retained for developing the multi-hazard incident management plan for the county, which is in process as well. So again, totally at the board's pleasure if you wanted to take a formal action, but this was intended more as a informational so that you understood what this actually meant as we started the process, really getting out to the public and the community December, January, just so you had a good understanding and were comfortable with what it entailed and what the intent behind the process was.
Okay.
I think what you're asking for, though, is that, I mean, I think we all agree that the CWPP is really worthwhile. It's a value, you know, and I met with Joe about a month ago, and after talking with him, I mean, I was sold on it. So I think that there is a value, and we should, you know, maybe at the end tonight, we could just say that we want to put that on there and vote it in. I just think that it is something that we would, you know, be interested in. And it involves the community. And, you know, I always like when we have opportunities, something structured, that the community members that want to be part of something can get involved in something. So, yeah.
And like I said, I think most of tonight is the discussion. So December's meeting could virtually be a consent item
Yeah.
for all that. Yeah, I really don't see any pushback from the public unless Beth objects.
Yeah. But with that said, thank you, Stephanie. I didn't get your last name, though.
Smithers.
Smithers, is that?
Smithers, yes,
Smithers, thank you.
Smithers.
And thank you for tonight's presentation. I think it was very insightful. Thank you.
Yeah, well, we look forward to working with you guys. I mean, we do believe that a CWPP right now is one of the most powerful things that our communities can do to unlock funding for future mitigation projects to protect communities. So looking forward to what's ahead.
Thank you, Stephanie.
Thank you.
Now we'll go into public comment for any items that are not on tonight's agenda. It's open for anybody in the room. Beth, you good?
I just want to wish the chief an early happy birthday, that's all.
Aw. Look at them turn red. Martha, anybody online?
No. Oh, never mind. Yes. Yes, Justin?
Good evening, Mayor County. It's great to see you all, and wish you all a happy Thanksgiving and Merry Christmas and try safe. One point is that I always hear Deputy. I think Deputy doing a great job. I was on the Zoom with them a long time ago with COVID, and then yeah, let's open our group out there, and I am the advocacy group. I open my advocacy group. I think it's a good thing we can just do it and set it up on our website. So Deputy, thank you so much for being on the call and just be here today. Thank you.
Thank you, Justin. Anyone else, Martha?
No, Chair.
Thank you. I'll close public comment and move on to agenda changes. Are there any agenda changes? Seeing none, I'll accept an motion to accept the consent calendar.
I'll make that motion.
We have a motion. Can I get a second?
I'll second.
Second, can we get a roll call, please?
Board Member Cruz?
Yes.
Board Member Lamatina?
Yes.
Board Member Oro?
Yes.
Vice Chair Joseph?
Yes.
Chair Washington?
Yes. Public hearing, moving on to public hearing, we actually do not have anything on public hearing. So I'll move to business item where we have one item, number 5, establish the new classification for fire administration, division manager, and management analyst. Chief?
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just point out, there was a minor graphical error on the staff report. We're asking to reclassify one of the existing fire executive management assistants to fire management analyst. So a couple months ago, we retained a consultant to do what is called a comp and class study of the 2 fire executive assistant positions we have here. Obviously, as things have progressed and things have becoming more complex with what the administrative functions are of our 2 incumbents to support the fire district. That was the rationale for embarking on the comp and class study. The study was concluded and makes the recommendations that the fire executive assistant office manager, which is Ms. Benuelos, who is a city employee, that position be reclassified to a fire administration division manager. That was already, that action had been taken, approving the reclassification at a previous city council meeting as part of the budgets. We had, just because of some financial concerns, we had pushed it off till implementation till fiscal mid-year. So part of the resolution and part of the recommendation is that position will be added to the fire district's job descriptions. However, because Ms. Benuelos is a city employee, that position will remain unfilled on the district side as long as the incumbent is still working with the city and working assigned to the fire district. Also, then the second position, the fire executive assistant, and part of the complexity is both incumbents had the same job title and job description, and yet their actual functional job responsibilities were vastly different. So the recommendation is to take the fire executive assistant position, reclassify it to a management analyst, which is more reflective of the roles and responsibilities of that position. Both job descriptions are included in your packet. The salary range is included in the packet as well. And also it's worth noting that this change had been already included in our final budget. So this has already been budgeted for. It's just now we're moving forward to have it actually be effective in January, first full work period in January. So really, I think it was a pretty lengthy staff report. I think it had a lot of really good points. Not to reiterate those points, but I think this truly is job reclassification that is truly reflective of the extraordinary individuals we have in the two incumbent positions and the work that they do to the district, which obviously have morphed and changed leaps and bounds over the course of several years. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions that the board may have regarding this matter.
Thanks, Chief. For me, I think this is a long time coming, so I'm glad to see it. But just for clarification, for anyone else who may read this, may assume that we have like 4 positions that we're talking about. What we're talking about is 2 current positions that we are basically eliminating or want to eliminate.
We're actually, I think the better way to put it, Chair, would be we are reclassifying the job descriptions and job titles of the 2 incumbents, but we are not adding any additional administrative staff to the fire district.
Okay, that's fair. Vice Chair Joseph.
Yeah, and I would agree with the chair that these are overdue recognition. But my question is real kind of picky technical. Are the titles Administrative Division Manager or Fire Administration Division Manager? And likewise, Management Analyst or Fire Management Analyst? Doesn't change anything other than...
No, it doesn't change anything. The job descriptions actually say Management Analyst and...
Administration Division Manager?
Administration, it does say Fire Administration Division Manager.
Okay.
So, yes.
All right. And either way, it's fine. I'm just, sometimes I get kind of technical.
Nitpicky.
So this is all I needed to know. No,
I do appreciate the clarification, though. It is an important clarification.
No, I think it's well-deserved. I think it's important to make the distinctions. I think both of the incumbents have probably helped create this position, their positions, and then looking down the road when they're retired, that we've set a new bar, and whoever replaces them has to live up to that or better. So
yeah, the fine print does read that retirement is not allowed for the incumbents, so we're good for a while.
That works for me too. Or at least they have to stick around until I'm gone. After I'm gone, I'm a lot more flexible.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anyone else on the board? Seeing no other questions on the board, I'll open up for public comment. No one in the room? Anybody online? Martha?
No, Chair.
No. So we'll turn back to the board for, I will entertain a motion.
All right, if there's no other questions, I'll go ahead and make a motion that we adopt a resolution of the Board of Directors of the American Canyon Fire Protection District establishing the classifications of Fire Administration Division Manager and Management Analysts and related pay ranges, reclassifying the Fire Executive Assistant, Office Manager, and Fire Executive Assistant positions, and authorizing the Fire Chief to implement related personnel actions.
I'll second that.
Thank you. We have a second. Madam Clerk, can we get a roll call, please?
Board Member Cruz?
Yes.
Board Member Lamatina?
Yes.
Board Member Oro?
Yes.
Vice Chair Joseph?
Yes.
And Chair Washington.
Yes. And congratulations.
And just as a point of clarification, to the extent that Martha has always given us candy, is there any potential conflict of interest that we should have recused ourselves? I am not entirely being serious, and I don't want the candy to stop.
I think we're good. We'll move on to the fire chief and oral reports.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I think one of the big highlights is for the last several years, we've been hosting a safe trick-or-treating event at our public safety building, partnership between the fire district and ACPD. This year was very well attended. And for a town with a population of about 20,000 people, give or take, we gave out over 1,500 bags of popcorn. So when you look at the numbers, we had almost 10% of the community come by the firehouse. And a lot of the comments that were relayed to me from Laura, who's really spearheaded this project, was a lot of people, the reoccurring theme was they felt safe visiting the firehouse and trick-or-treating. So I think that's kudos to Laura and team that put that together, but it's become a resounding hit in our community for Halloween. Then on more of the operational front, I'm happy to report that the first of our 2 engines was put in service over the weekend. It's currently operating out of our James Road station. Second engine should be not far behind. There's a couple minor warranty issues that we caught beforehand, before putting in service, so we were able to send that to the vendor to get those issues resolved, which is always better to catch it early before you put the engine in service and then catch them. So that's moving along quite well. And really, other than that, just want to wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving next week, and I hope you enjoy some well-deserved time with your families and friends as you celebrate the holiday. And with that, I'll conclude my report unless there's any questions.
Thank you, Chief Bellier. Any questions from the board? Seeing there, are there any closing remarks from the board? Seeing no closing remark, yeah, happy Thanksgiving to everyone. We have concluded our business for this evening. We are adjourned. Good night, American Canyon.